In a lonely corner of the galaxy, far from the great cities of men and the shining towers of the Galactic Council, there was a small colony known as Varan 9. The colony floated near a dying sun, its light weak and red, casting long shadows over rusted domes and broken ships. Most people had left years ago when the mining stopped. Only a few workers and old machines still lived there, fixing small ships and trading scrap. Among them was a man called Rin, the silent mechanic. He spoke to no one unless it was about engines or repairs. Every day he woke before dawn, washed the dust from his face, and walked to his workshop, a small hangar filled with old ships, wires, and glowing tools. He worked alone, listening only to the hum of metal and the wind whispering through cracked windows. People said Rin had no past, no friends, and no voice worth hearing. They called him the ghost of Varan 9. Rin didn't mind. Silence was safer. Silence meant peace. Once, long ago, he had spoken too much, and it had cost him everything. Now he fixed ships, replaced fuel cells, and repaired machines that others had given up on. He found comfort in broken things. Machines didn't lie. They only broke, and he could fix them. That was enough for him. His workshop stood next to another small house. It belonged to a strange woman known by everyone as Lady Kale, though no one dared to ask where she came from. She was tall, her skin faintly silver under the light, her eyes golden and sharp like a predator's. Her hair shimmered with red and gold strands, and when she walked, people swore they saw small scales on her neck that glimmered for a second before fading. Some whispered that she was not human at all, that she belonged to the old dragon tribes from the outer stars, creatures who once ruled before the council. Others said she was an experiment gone wrong. Rin didn't care. She never bothered him, and he never spoke to her. They lived side by side like two stars too far apart to ever touch. But everything changed one silent night. It was late. The red sun had long set, leaving only the weak light of broken lamps and the occasional flash of a passing drone. Rin was still awake, working on an old shuttle engine. His hands were black with oil, his mind focused, calm. Then he heard it, a sound that didn't belong. A sharp metallic crash, followed by a faint cry, came from outside, near Kale's house. Rin froze. The colony was quiet at night. No one made noise here. He waited, thinking it was just a falling scrap piece or a drunk miner. But then he heard it again. A low moan, weak and painful. Something was wrong. Without thinking, Rin grabbed his small plasma torch and stepped outside. The air was cold, carrying the smell of metal and rain. The lights flickered above him. He walked toward Kale's house, the sound growing louder. Then he saw her, Lady Kale, lying on the ground, her body twisted beside the metal steps. Her silver skin was cut open across her arm and shoulder, and beneath it glowed blue light. Not normal blood, but something brighter, something alive. Pulsed softly, like liquid fire. For a moment, Rin just stood there, frozen. He had fixed broken ships, repaired shattered engines, but never had he seen a living being bleed like this. Kale looked up at him weakly. Her golden eyes burned for a moment, then dimmed. "Help me?" she whispered, her voice soft but filled with pain. Rin hesitated. He had lived alone for years, avoiding trouble, avoiding people. He wanted to turn away, to pretend he hadn't seen. But something deep inside his chest, something long asleep, moved. He knelt beside her, touched her shoulder gently. Her skin was hot, almost burning. He looked around. No one else was there. The colony was silent. The red lights from the tower blinked slowly in the distance. If he left her there, she would die. Rin didn't understand who she was, what she was, or what had hurt her, but his hands moved on their own. He lifted her carefully, surprised by how light she was despite her tall frame. Her blood left faint blue marks on his arms, glowing softly under the dark sky. He carried her back to his workshop, his heart beating faster than it had in years. Inside, he laid her on the work table, clearing tools and wires. The smell of blood and metal filled the air. Kale's breathing was shallow. Her left arm had deep cuts that didn't look like they came from a fall. They looked like claw marks or maybe blades. He didn't know. He only knew she was dying. Rin rushed to his tool cabinet, grabbed healing foam, nanogel, and repair fabric. He didn't have medical training, but machines and bodies weren't so different, he told himself. Both needed energy. Both needed structure. He cleaned the wounds with trembling hands, pressing the gel where the light leaked out. The blue glow dimmed slowly. The bleeding stopped. Kale groaned, whispering something he couldn't understand. Words in another tongue, maybe her native language. When he looked closer, he saw that under her skin, fine metallic lines pulsed, like circuits under flesh. She wasn't just alien. She was part machine, part living being. Rin felt a chill. Who could create something like her? Or was she born this way? He didn't know. But the more he looked, the more he realized she was beautiful in a strange, terrifying way, fragile yet powerful. A living secret that didn't belong in this forgotten place. As he worked, her hand suddenly caught his wrist. Her eyes opened wide, glowing like molten gold. "Don't tell anyone," she whispered. "They must not find me." Then her hand fell limp again. Rin didn't understand who they were. He just nodded, though she couldn't see. He wrapped her arm, checked her breathing again, and covered her with a thermal sheet. Then he sat beside her, staring at the faint glow of her blood drying on his fingers. It shimmered like liquid stars. Hours passed. The colony outside slept under silence. Rin couldn't. Every creak made him glance at the door. He didn't know what had attacked her, or if it was still out there. Once, he thought he heard a faint hum, the sound of engines far above the clouds, but it disappeared quickly. He tried to rest, but his mind was burning. What had he just done? Why did he save her? Why did her blood feel warm against his skin, as if it carried some strange energy? He looked at his hands again. For a brief second, the blue light flashed under his veins, faint but real. Then it vanished. Rin stared in disbelief, his heart racing. He had touched something he shouldn't have, something powerful. Just before dawn, Kale stirred. Her voice was weak, barely a whisper. "They're coming for me," she said. "You must not let them find it." Rin leaned closer. "Find what?" he asked quietly. Her lips moved, but no sound came. She closed her eyes again, falling into unconsciousness. Rin sat back slowly, his thoughts spinning. Outside, the first light of morning touched the red clouds, painting the workshop in blood-colored light. The silence felt heavier than before. He didn't know what kind of trouble he had brought upon himself, only that his life of peace was over. He looked at Kale again, her face calm now, breathing steady. Something inside him whispered that helping her was a mistake. But another voice, older, deeper, told him it was the right thing. He sighed, rubbing his forehead, and whispered to himself, "You should have stayed silent, Rin." But deep inside he knew it was already too late, because at that same moment, far above Varan 9, a group of dark ships appeared, sliding out of the shadows of space. Their lights scanned the colony, searching, hunting, and on their command screens one name glowed in red letters. Target detected. Dragon entity Lady Kale. Last contact, Varan 9 colony. The red morning light spread slowly over Varan 9, touching the roofs of the old colony like dying fire. The air smelled of metal and smoke. Inside his workshop, Rin sat beside the table where Lady Kale lay unconscious, wrapped in a thermal sheet. Her skin no longer glowed, but faint blue lines still pulsed under her veins like hidden lightning. She looked peaceful, almost human, but Rin couldn't forget the flash of golden eyes, the blood that shone like stars, and the strange warmth that had entered his hands. He stared at his palms, turning them slowly in the dim light. The faint blue glow flickered again, just for a heartbeat, then disappeared. He swallowed hard. He didn't understand what was happening, and he didn't want to. He told himself to stay calm. He just needed to help her recover and then send her away. That was all. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a fighter. He was just a man who fixed ships. But deep down, he already knew this wasn't something he could walk away from. Things like this didn't happen to simple people. Things like this were the start of trouble that burned entire worlds. The morning passed slowly. Rin checked Kale's wounds again. The gel he used had sealed most of the cuts, and her breathing was stronger. He cleaned the tools, wiped the table, and avoided looking at her too long. The sight of her was strange, beautiful but heavy with danger. He remembered her whisper, "They must not find me." Who were they? What did they want? Outside, the colony was waking up. Miners walked past his workshop, drones hummed in the sky, and the sound of machinery returned to the air. Rin stepped outside to clear his head. The sky looked darker than usual, as if storm clouds were gathering. But Varan 9 had no real weather. That meant something else was coming. When he went back inside, Kale was gone. Rin froze. The table was empty. The sheet lay folded neatly beside it. Panic hit him for the first time in years. He searched the workshop, calling softly, "Kale? Lady Kale?" No answer. He checked behind the tool racks under the stairs near the door. Nothing. The silence pressed on him like a weight. Then he noticed it, a faint blue light coming from under the table. He crouched down and found a small device, about the size of his hand. It was smooth, metallic, shaped like a teardrop, and pulsed softly, like it was alive. When he picked it up, the surface shifted, forming symbols that glowed brighter when he touched them. He felt the same warmth spread through his hand again. The device vibrated once, then a cold voice spoke from within. User identified. Mechanic Rin. Access level restricted. Protocol awakening. Rin's breath caught in his throat. The device projected a small beam of light showing flashes, broken images that moved too fast to understand. He saw dragons flying through space, ships burning, soldiers shouting, and the symbol of the Galactic Council shining like a cruel sun. Then he saw Kale, standing before a crowd, wings spread wide, fire in her eyes, and then chains around her wrists. The images vanished. The light dimmed. Rin dropped the device, his heart pounding. He stared at it on the floor, afraid to touch it again. He didn't know what he had just seen, but one thing was clear. Kale wasn't just a stranger. She was part of something far bigger, something the Council didn't want anyone to know. He realized then what she had meant when she said, "They must not find it." The device, that was what they were after. He thought about destroying it, but a strange feeling stopped him. It was as if the device was calling to him, whispering quietly, like the hum of a ship engine waiting to be repaired. Curiosity won over fear. He picked it up again. The warmth returned, stronger this time, and he heard faint words inside his mind, not spoken aloud but echoing in his thoughts. The flame remembers. Protect the link. He didn't understand, but before he could think further, he heard the sound of engines outside. Not small colony ships, these were larger, heavier. The ground trembled slightly. Rin peeked through the window. 3 dark ships hovered above the landing yard, black and silver, marked with the Council's crest. His stomach twisted. They never visited colonies like this. Not unless something was wrong. Rin turned off all lights and locked the door. He hid the device inside a metal box and shoved it under his workbench. His mind raced. Were they here for her? For him? For that thing? He looked around the workshop. Kale's blood was still on the floor. If they scanned the area, they would find it. He grabbed cleaning foam and wiped the floor quickly, shaking hands betraying his calm face. Then he heard voices outside. Cold, mechanical voices. Thermal scan indicates recent biological activity. Dragon-class energy detected. Rin's breath hitched. They were right outside. Search the building, another voice said. Rin's heart pounded so loud he thought they'd hear it. The door handle moved. He grabbed his plasma torch, the only tool he had that could serve as a weapon, and pressed himself against the wall. The door hissed open. 3 figures stepped inside, tall and armored in black suits with glowing red visors. Council hunters, the most feared agents in the galaxy. They moved like machines, scanning every corner with quiet precision. Rin didn't move. His workshop was filled with shadows. The first hunter walked past him, scanning the walls. No visible entity, it said, but residual dragon blood confirmed. The second hunter moved closer to the table. Healer activity detected. Someone patched her wounds here. The third turned toward Rin's corner. Life sign, human. Rin acted on instinct. He pressed the plasma torch to the power box on the wall and triggered a short burst. Sparks exploded, and the lights went out. In the darkness, he ducked under the table, crawling fast. The hunters fired stun rounds, blue flashes lighting the room. Rin rolled behind an engine core and threw a wrench toward the far wall. The sound distracted them for a second, enough for him to reach the back door. He ran into the cold night, lungs burning. The colony alarms began to wail. Behind him, the hunters shouted commands, their visors glowing through the dust. He sprinted toward the scrapyard, hiding behind a pile of ship parts. He stayed there, breath heavy, heart racing. In the distance, he saw the hunters searching his workshop, tearing everything apart. Then something strange happened. The device, still under his shirt where he had hidden it, began to pulse. A faint blue light shone through his clothes. Rin grabbed it, trying to cover it, but it was too late. The light grew brighter, hotter, until it felt like it was sinking into his skin. He screamed silently, clutching his chest. The metal melted into him, disappearing inside. For a moment, his vision blurred. Then he heard a deep voice inside his head, calm, powerful, ancient. You are the link. The flame has chosen you. Rin fell to his knees, gasping. His veins glowed faint blue for a moment, then dimmed. He didn't understand what had just happened, but he knew one thing. He couldn't stay. The council would not stop. He looked up at the night sky and saw ships, dark and countless, breaking through the clouds. A fleet, the full force of the council. They were coming for Varan 9. Rin whispered to himself, "What have I done?" Then he ran toward the old shipyard, where Kale's half-repaired vessel stood waiting. He didn't know how to fly it properly, but he didn't care. He just needed to get off this world. As he powered the ship, the engines groaned, then roared to life. The hunters spotted him and opened fire, blue bolts slicing through the air. Rin pulled the lever and shot upward, breaking through the clouds. Below him, Varan 9 burned. Above him, the council fleet closed in. And deep inside his chest, the flame pulsed, whispering in a language he could almost understand. The silent mechanic had become part of something far greater and far more dangerous than he could ever imagine. The stars above Varan 9 stretched like a sea of fire as Rin's ship tore through the sky. The small craft shook violently, alarms flashing red across the console. Rin gritted his teeth, pulling hard on the controls. He wasn't a pilot, he was a mechanic. The ship groaned like an old animal trying to breathe again. Behind him, the colony grew smaller until it vanished into the blackness. Only smoke and red light remained where his home once stood. The council's fleet had begun its cleansing. Varan 9 was gone. Rin stared at the stars ahead, his hands trembling. His chest still burned faintly where the strange device had merged with his skin. Every few seconds he felt a pulse, slow and steady, like a second heartbeat. It scared him, but it also gave him strength. When he closed his eyes, he could almost hear a whisper. Not words, just a feeling. It was as if something inside him was alive, watching, waiting. He checked the ship system. The display flickered, showing only partial power. The hull was damaged, shields weak, and one engine was leaking plasma. He sighed. He didn't know where he was going, only that he couldn't stop. The council would chase him. He had no weapons, no friends, and no idea what had happened to Kale. But he still remembered her voice, that soft warning. They're coming. Don't let them find it. He looked down at his hands. I think they already have, he muttered. Hours passed. Space was quiet except for the hum of the ship and the distant radio signals of the council searching nearby systems. Rin hid in the shadows of an asteroid field, switching the power to silent mode. The ship floated in darkness. He sat in the pilot's seat, staring at his reflection on the cracked screen. He looked older, tired, and scared. Not like the man who spent his life fixing machines. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was something else now, though he didn't know what. Then, suddenly, the ship's console flickered to life on its own. The lights glowed blue, not red. A voice spoke from the speakers, calm, metallic, and familiar. User, Rin. Integration level, 8%. Neural link stable. Accessing memory archive. Before he could react, the ship's windows darkened, and blue light filled the cabin. Images began to appear, not from outside but inside his mind. He saw Kale, younger, standing on a high platform in front of a crowd of her kind. Dragon people with wings of fire and eyes like suns. They were proud, strong, and free. Then the image shifted. He saw ships from the Galactic Council descending from the skies, white and gold, carrying peace banners that turned to weapons. There was fire. There was betrayal. He saw Kale screaming, chains glowing around her wrists, her wings burning as soldiers dragged her down. The vision changed again. Kale kneeling in a lab, surrounded by machines, as scientists cut pieces of her scales. Her voice echoed through his mind. They took the flame. They broke the promise. The images vanished. Rin gasped for air. His hands were shaking. "What are you showing me?" he whispered. The voice inside the ship replied softly, "Truth. The flame is memory. The flame remembers all." He sat in silence, trying to make sense of it. The flame. That was what Kale called the energy. The same power that now lived inside him. If what he saw was true, the Council had done something terrible. They had destroyed Kale's people, stolen their power, and turned them into enemies. The flame was not a weapon. It was something ancient, something that once connected all life across the stars. And now, for some reason, it had chosen him. Rin leaned back, closing his eyes. "Why me?" he asked quietly. The voice answered, "Because you fixed what others destroyed. You heal, not harm." The words cut deep. He didn't feel like a hero. He had run away, left his home behind. But maybe, just maybe, there was still something he could do. Before he could think further, the radar beeped, sharp and urgent. Rin's eyes snapped open. 3 ships were approaching fast. He switched off the lights, but it was too late. The Council had found him again. The ships spread out in formation, surrounding his position. Their lights cut through the asteroid shadows like knives. A voice came through the comms, cold and clear. "Unidentified craft, this is Galactic Patrol Vessel Sigma 9. You are harboring restricted alien technology. Power down and prepare for boarding." Rin stared at the blinking screen. He could almost hear his heartbeat echoing inside his chest. The flame pulsed again. Stronger, faster. The console began to shake, reacting to his fear. "No," he whispered, gripping the controls. "Not again." The voice repeated the order. "Power down or be destroyed." Rin's mind raced. He couldn't fight 3 Council ships. He had no weapons. Then he felt something inside his chest. A sudden warmth spreading through his body. The ship's systems started glowing blue again, reacting on their own. The AI voice whispered in his mind, "Do not fear. The flame protects." Outside, the stars bent. Light rippled around the ship like waves. The Council scanners went blind for a second. Then, without warning, Rin's ship jumped, not through normal hyperspace but something else. The stars turned into rivers of light, and the universe twisted. Rin screamed as pressure filled his head. The flame inside him pulsed like a living sun. Then everything went black. When he opened his eyes again, there was silence. The ship floated in empty space, far from any known system. The radar was blank. The stars around him were unfamiliar, distant, cold, and strange. For a long moment, Rin just sat there, breathing hard. "Where am I?" he whispered. The AI responded softly, "Outside mapped territory. Coordinates hidden. You are safe for now." Rin leaned back, running a hand through his hair. Safe. He wasn't sure that word had meaning anymore. He looked at the control panel. The ship's energy readings were stable again, somehow higher than before. The flame had saved him, but that also meant it could do things far beyond human technology. He realized what that meant. If the council ever captured him, they could use it to control or destroy entire worlds. He stood up, pacing slowly. Kale, you gave me this, he said to the empty cabin. Why? What am I supposed to do? No answer. Only the hum of the engines. He looked at the navigation screen. Suddenly, new coordinates appeared on it. Automatically. A blinking blue light marked a distant point beyond the outer systems. Beneath it were simple words. Origin point, the last flame. Rin stared at it for a long moment. He didn't know what it meant, but he knew it was his only clue. Maybe even a way to find Kale again. He took a deep breath and set the course. The engines hummed, brighter this time, as if the ship understood him. Hours turned into days as Rin traveled through the dark sectors. He slept little, always watching the radar, afraid of being tracked. Sometimes he saw flashes in his dreams. Kale's face, her wings burning, the council's ships, and always the whisper of the flame calling his name. On the third day, he woke to a sharp alarm. A new ship had appeared ahead, small but fast. It wasn't council-made. It looked old, like a dragon-shaped vessel carved from metal and crystal. It matched his path, flying beside him for a few seconds. Then a message appeared on his screen. Mechanic Rin, do not fear. Follow the signal. She waits. His heart stopped. There was only one person who could mean that. Kale was alive. Rin gripped the controls, eyes wide. The ship ahead turned and sped toward a massive asteroid surrounded by glowing blue mist. Rin followed, hope and fear fighting in his chest. As he entered the mist, the flame inside him pulsed faster, almost joyfully. He didn't know what waited for him inside that strange place. Maybe Kale, maybe the truth, maybe something far more dangerous. But one thing was certain. The mechanic who once fixed broken machines was now holding the most powerful secret in the galaxy. And that secret, the flame, was about to reveal what it truly was. The glowing mist surrounded Rin's ship like a living storm. It shimmered with soft blue light, twisting and changing shapes as if it was breathing. The engines hummed quietly, reacting to the strange energy around them. Rin held the controls tight, eyes fixed on the small dragon-shaped ship flying ahead. He didn't know who was piloting it, but the message was still clear in his mind. Follow the signal. She waits. His heart beat faster with every passing second. Could it really be Kale? Was she alive after all? He had to believe it. The mist grew thicker, and suddenly, the ship ahead vanished. Rin blinked, trying to adjust the scanners, but the system showed nothing. The radar went blank. No signal, he whispered, frustrated. Where did you go? Then, without warning, the ship lurched forward. Alarms flashed red. A gravitational pull dragged him toward the center of the mist. He tried to fight it, pushing the thrusters to full power, but it was useless. The ship spun faster and faster until everything turned white. Then silence. When Rin opened his eyes, he was no longer in open space. The ship floated quietly inside a massive hollow asteroid. Light from glowing blue crystals filled the dark walls, making it look like a city hidden inside stone. Old structures hung in the air, towers, platforms, broken statues shaped like dragons and humans standing together. It was beautiful and haunting at the same time. The flame inside Rin's chest pulsed softly, as if it recognized the place. He felt a wave of warmth spread through him, not fear but familiarity, like coming home to a place he never knew existed. He guided the ship toward one of the landing platforms. When the engines powered down, the silence felt heavy, sacred. Rin stepped out, the air cold and still. His boots echoed on the metal floor. Blue mist floated around his feet like smoke. For a long time he saw nothing, only shadows of old structures and flickering lights. Then he heard footsteps. From behind a tall pillar, Kale appeared. Rin froze. She looked different, stronger, radiant, almost unreal. Her scales shone faintly, her wings partly unfolded like shimmering glass. Her eyes were golden as before, but now they burned brighter. "You came?" she said softly, her voice calm but filled with relief. Rin took a slow step forward. "You're alive," he said, almost in disbelief. I thought the council. They tried, Kale interrupted, walking closer. But the flame protected me, just as it protected you. She looked at his chest, where the faint blue glow pulsed through his shirt. You carry it now. You are linked to it. Rin frowned. I didn't choose this. It just happened. Kale nodded slowly. The flame chooses who listens. I saw your heart. A man who fixes, not destroys. That is rare in this age. Rin looked around the place. What is this place? He asked quietly. Kale glanced up at the glowing walls. This was once our home, the cradle of embers. It was the last city of my people before the council erased us from the stars. They feared our power, the power to heal and create. They called us dragons because they couldn't understand us. Rin listened in silence. The more she spoke, the more he realized how much the galaxy didn't know, or wasn't allowed to know. Kale walked toward a large crystal in the center of the platform. Pulsed slowly, like a beating heart. This, she said, is the last source of the flame. Connects every living thing. It gives life to worlds. But the council wanted control. They turned the flame into a weapon. Rin touched his chest. And now I have it inside me? Kale nodded. You are the link. The flame has bonded with your soul. It cannot be taken, not by force. Rin shook his head slowly. I don't want it. I just want to go back to fixing ships. Kale gave a sad smile. You can't go back, Rin. You've already changed the path of the stars. Before Rin could answer, a sudden rumble echoed through the hollow city. The ground shook. Kale's wings spread wide, her eyes sharp. They found us, she whispered. Outside the asteroid, space rippled. Several council hunters' ships appeared, black and silver, scanning the surface. Their engines glowed red like angry eyes. Inside their command ship, a tall figure stood, wrapped in dark armor, face hidden behind a golden mask. His voice was cold and precise. We've found the dragon fugitive and the human host. Activate the purge. Within seconds, the hunters deployed. Dozens of small ships shot into the mist, armed and ready. Kale turned to Rin. You brought them here. Rin's chest tightened. I didn't know. I know, she said quickly, her voice softer. The flame connected us. They traced the link. She grabbed his hand. We must protect the cradle. If they destroy it, the flame dies with it. Before Rin could reply, explosions shook the ground again. Rocks fell from above. Kale pulled him toward a tunnel that led deeper into the city. Come, there's a defense core below. They ran through long corridors lined with glowing symbols. The air was thick with energy. Rin could hear the sounds of blasters echoing through the tunnels. The hunters had already landed. When they reached the end of the passage, Kale touched a crystal panel on the wall. The floor opened, revealing a massive chamber filled with old machines and dragon-shaped statues. This was our heart, Kale said. It can shield the flame, but it needs power, your power. Rin stepped forward, unsure. What do I do? Kale placed his hand on a glowing pedestal. Just feel it. The flame will know. The moment his skin touched the surface, the entire room lit up. Blue energy burst from the walls, flowing into the statues, the floor, the air. Rin felt the power rushing through him. It was warm but heavy, like holding the heartbeat of a star. The flame inside his chest pulsed faster, and light poured out of his eyes and veins. The city above trembled as a bright shield formed over the cradle, wrapping it in pure light. Kale stepped back, watching in awe. You did it, she whispered. But the moment of peace lasted only seconds. The hunters outside had formed a ring around the asteroid. Their commander raised his hand. Deploy anti-energy weapons. Burn it all. Beams of red light struck the shield, shaking it violently. Rin screamed as the power surged inside him. The shield flickered. Kale ran to him, placing her hands on his shoulders. Hold on, Rin. The flame is fighting for you. I can't. It's too much, he gasped. Then something inside him snapped. The light from his chest exploded outward, knocking Kale back. For a moment, everything went white. The hunters' ships shattered like glass. The blast spread through space, throwing debris and fire into the void. When the light faded, silence returned. The shield was gone. The hunter's fleet was destroyed. Rin knelt on the ground, breathing hard, eyes glowing faintly. Kale approached slowly, her expression filled with both fear and admiration. "You used the flame," she said quietly. "No one has done that in centuries." Rin looked at his hands, trembling. "I didn't control it. It just happened." Kale looked up at the stars through the cracked ceiling. "The council will not stop now. They will send their armies. You have become their greatest fear." Rin stood slowly, the faint glow fading from his veins. "Then we need to move," he said, "before they come again." Kale nodded. "There is one place left, a sanctuary where the flame was born. If we reach it, maybe we can end this war before it begins." Rin looked around the ruined cradle, the fallen stones glowing faintly in the dark. He realized there was no turning back. He wasn't just a silent mechanic anymore. He was the keeper of something ancient, and hunted by the most powerful force in the galaxy. As they prepared to leave, Kale looked at him one last time and said, "Remember this, Rin, the flame chose you for a reason. It does not make mistakes." He didn't answer. He only looked toward the stars, knowing they would soon face the council again, and that the next encounter would decide the fate of every world touched by the flame. The ship drifted silently through the black sea of stars, its engines running low and quiet. The metal walls trembled softly, echoing with the faint hum of power. Rin sat alone in the cockpit, staring out at the endless void. His reflection looked back at him. Tired eyes, a streak of grease still on his cheek, and faint lines of blue light glowing under his skin. He had been traveling for days, following the coordinates that the flame whispered into his mind. He didn't eat much. He didn't sleep. The same thought circled in his head again and again. "Where are you, Kale?" Outside the window, distant nebulae burned in soft colors. Red, violet, blue, like memories fading in space. Sometimes, he thought he saw her shape in the clouds, wings spread wide, calling him forward. Other times, he heard her voice in his dreams. "Don't stop, Rin. The flame still remembers." He didn't understand how or why, but the flame guided him like a compass of light inside his heart. The ship's systems flickered again. Power was running low. He opened a panel and started adjusting the energy coils. His hands moved automatically, the reflexes of a lifetime mechanic, but his mind was somewhere else. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the explosion, the cradle shattering, Kale's face vanishing in the white light. He blamed himself. He had tried to save her, but instead, he had destroyed everything she loved. Then, one night, as he floated through a dark sector filled with drifting debris, the flame inside his chest flared suddenly. The entire cockpit filled with blue light. The ship's controls came alive, steering on their own. "What's happening?" he whispered, gripping the chair. The coordinates changed again, new numbers, new direction. The ship accelerated sharply toward a cluster of asteroids ahead. He almost panicked. The rocks were too dense to fly through. But then he noticed something strange. The asteroids weren't random. They were arranged in a perfect circular pattern, glowing faintly with the same blue hue as the flame. The ship slowed and entered the ring, and as it did, the space around him changed. The stars dimmed. Gravity shifted. It was as if he had entered a pocket of reality hidden from the rest of the galaxy. Then he saw it. A massive asteroid in the center, covered in dragon-like carvings that shimmered with light. At its heart, a glowing temple floated, ancient, peaceful, powerful. The ship landed gently on a platform surrounded by silver dust and blue fireflies that moved like tiny spirits. The air was soft and cool. Rin stepped out, feeling the ground pulse faintly beneath his boots. He knew he wasn't alone. From the far end of the platform, someone emerged from the mist. Kale. She was alive. Her wings were larger now, the scales more luminous, her eyes burning with fire and sadness. The sight hit Rin so hard he forgot to breathe. She looked both human and divine, as if she had walked out of a legend. He took one slow step forward, and his voice broke softly. "Kale." She smiled faintly. "You found me," she said, her voice calm but filled with emotion. "The flame led you here." Rin wanted to speak, to say everything he had held inside. The guilt, the confusion, the loneliness. But words failed him. "I thought you were gone," he managed finally. "After the cradle. I thought you." "I almost was," Kale interrupted gently. "When the flame burst from you, it destroyed the hunters. But it also tore me apart. Only a piece of me survived. The flame rebuilt me here, in the last sanctuary of my kind." Rin stepped closer. "The last sanctuary?" Kale nodded slowly. "This place is called the Heart of Embers. It's where the first flame was born, before the council twisted it into a weapon. Only the chosen could find it, and now you stand here." He looked around in awe. The temple walls shimmered with carvings of dragons and humans side by side, holding flames in their hands, as if united by the same light. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "I'm no hero, Kale. I fix engines. I live alone. I didn't ask for any of this." Kale looked at him, her expression soft but firm. "The flame does not choose heroes. Chooses hearts. You were the first to act with compassion, not fear. You helped a dying stranger when no one else would. That single act woke the flame." Rin looked down, remembering that night. Her body bleeding, the blue light, the moment he carried her inside. He hadn't thought. He had just acted. "And now it's inside me," he said slowly. Kale nodded. "Yes, you are its bearer. And that means the council will stop at nothing to find you." As she spoke, the sky above the asteroid shimmered. Dark shapes appeared, distant ships, cutting through the mist. Kale's expression turned grim. "They've found us again," she whispered. Rin's chest glowed faintly in response, as if the flame itself sensed danger. "We can't keep running," he said. "Not forever." Kale turned to face him. "There may be another way. The flame can destroy, but it can also reveal. It remembers every truth the council buried. If we can awaken its full memory, we can show the galaxy what really happened." Rin frowned. "You mean expose them?" "Yes," Kale said. "The council built its power on lies. If the people saw the truth, their empire would fall." Rin nodded slowly. "Then we do it. Whatever it takes." Kale smiled faintly, her eyes softening. "You speak like one of us now." They entered the temple together. Inside, ancient machines pulsed with soft blue energy. In the center stood a circular platform surrounded by floating crystals. Kale guided Rin to the middle. "Place your hand here," she said. "The flame will connect to the heart." Rin obeyed. The moment his palm touched the glowing surface, light surged through the temple. The air trembled. Images filled the room, visions of history. Rin saw entire worlds burning, dragon beings fighting to protect civilians, while council fleets attacked from orbit. He saw the council leaders declaring dragons as monsters, rewriting the story so the galaxy would never know the truth. Then he saw Kale, younger, leading her people, standing before a vast fire as the council's army surrounded them. Her final words echoed through the vision. "If the stars forget us, the flame will remember." The light faded. Rin stumbled back, his heart racing. "They lied to everyone," he whispered. Kale nodded, her face calm but her voice trembling. "They turned peace into fear. But now, with the flame in you, we can tell the truth again." Before they could say more, alarms rang through the temple. Outside, the council ships had arrived. Beams of red energy struck the shield, shaking the ground. Kale spread her wings. "They are here," she said. Rin clenched his fists. "Then let's finish this." Kale looked at him one last time, her eyes filled with both sadness and pride. "If we fail, the flame dies. If we succeed, the stars will remember who we were." Rin took a deep breath. The blue glow in his chest brightened, merging with Kale's aura. The air around them shimmered with raw energy. The heart of embers awakened, its crystals spinning faster, gathering power. The flame began to hum, not like a machine, but like a living heartbeat shared between them. Outside, the Council's fleet prepared to fire their final strike. Inside, the last two keepers of the flame stood side by side, ready to face the storm. And in that moment, as the light built to a blinding blaze, Rin understood the truth at last. The flame was not just power. It was life itself, and together he and Kale would decide if that life would burn or be reborn. The heart of embers trembled under the pressure of war. The walls shook with every explosion that struck the outer shield. Red light from the Council's fleet flashed through the temple windows, turning the sky into a storm of fire. Kale stood at the edge of the platform, her wings spread wide, her eyes blazing gold. The flame pulsed around her like a living aura. Behind her, Rin worked quickly, connecting wires, fixing the ancient energy conduits that powered the temple. His hands were steady, but his heart raced. Outside, thousands of ships filled the void, black machines shaped like knives, symbols of the Galactic Council glowing on their sides. They surrounded the sanctuary completely. In their command ship, the masked commander stood before a massive screen showing the glowing asteroid. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with cold fury. Fire when ready. Leave nothing alive. The first barrage hit. The asteroid shuddered. The temple lights flickered. Rin gritted his teeth, holding a broken panel in place with one hand and using the other to reroute the energy flow. Sparks flew, cutting his face, but he didn't stop. He could feel the flame inside his chest reacting, like it wanted to protect, to fight back. Kale turned to him, her expression tense. They won't stop, Rin. They will burn everything. Rin looked up at her. Then we give them something they can't burn. Kale frowned slightly. What do you mean? He pointed to the giant crystal core at the center of the temple, the heart of the flame. You said it remembers everything. What if we send that memory to everyone? Every colony, every ship, every planet the Council controls. Kale's eyes widened. You want to broadcast the truth? Rin nodded. If people see what really happened, the Council's lies, their wars, how they destroyed your people, they won't fight for them anymore. Kale hesitated. The heart can do it, but it needs energy. More than it has now. Rin looked down at his glowing chest, then back at her. It can take mine. Kale's expression turned from shock to fear. No, Rin. You don't understand what you're saying. The flame will consume you. It will burn your body to ashes. He gave a small, sad smile. I fixed things my whole life. Maybe this time, I fix something bigger. Kale stepped closer, shaking her head. You don't have to die to save them. There must be another way. Rin looked into her golden eyes. Tired, beautiful, filled with fire and sadness. You gave me purpose when I had none. You showed me that even a broken mechanic could matter. I won't let your people be forgotten again. Kale's voice broke softly. You can't do this alone. Rin reached out, gently touching her hand. Then don't let me. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The temple shook again, dust falling from the ceiling. The sound of distant explosions filled the air. Kale finally nodded, her wings folding close. If we do this, we do it together, she whispered. They walked toward the core of the flame. The great crystal pulsed slowly, like a sleeping heart waiting to wake. Rin placed his hands on its surface, and Kale placed hers over his. The light from both of them merged, spreading through the temple walls. The entire structure began to glow, the carvings shining brighter than ever. Outside, the council commander saw it happen. Increase firepower, he shouted. Destroy that light. Beams of red energy slammed into the shield, but instead of breaking it, the light grew stronger. It spread outward in waves, beautiful and unstoppable. Inside the temple, Rin felt his body burning from the inside out, but he didn't scream. He could see everything: memories, lives, moments from thousands of years ago. The dragons flying through the stars. The council's betrayal. Kale's people protecting children from fire. Entire civilizations that had been erased from history. All of it lived inside the flame, waiting to be remembered. He saw Kale beside him, her eyes closed, wings open wide, glowing brighter than ever. Her voice echoed softly in his mind. The stars are watching, Rin. Let them see. The light burst from the heart of embers, traveling faster than sound, faster than thought. It shot through the asteroid, past the Council's fleet, and into the galaxy beyond. Every communication system, every screen, every ship, they all lit up at once. Billions of people across thousands of worlds saw the truth. They saw what the Council had hidden for centuries. They saw Kale's people as guardians, not monsters. They saw the Council as liars and destroyers. And they saw a single human, a quiet mechanic, standing beside a dragon lady, holding the light that could not be killed. Across the stars, silence fell. Then came the anger. Entire worlds turned against the Council. Ships switched sides mid-battle. Soldiers refused to fire. The Empire began to crumble, not because of war, but because of truth. Inside the temple, the energy was too much. The crystal cracked, the ground shook. Rin fell to his knees, his body glowing like molten metal. Kale dropped beside him, holding his face in her hands. Tears shimmered on her cheeks, glowing like tiny stars. Rin, stop. You've done enough. He smiled faintly, his voice weak but peaceful. It's okay. The flame's not dying. It's going home. Kale shook her head. Don't leave me. He looked up at her, his vision fading. You were never alone, Kale. Not then. Not now. The light grew too bright to see. For one final moment, Kale wrapped her wings around him, her tears mixing with the glow. Then let's go together, she whispered. The explosion was silent. A wave of blue and white that swept through the sky, brighter than any sun. The Council's fleet was thrown apart. The asteroid vanished. When the light faded, only calm remained. Days later, across the galaxy, people spoke of a miracle. Stars that had dimmed suddenly shone brighter. Broken worlds began to heal. And in the night sky of every planet, a new constellation appeared. Two shapes, one human and one dragon, flying side by side. They called it the Flame Bearers. Some said the mechanic and the dragon lady had become pure light, guiding travelers through space. Others believed they were reborn somewhere new, fixing the universe piece by piece. But those who had seen the broadcast, those who had felt the truth in their hearts, knew the real story. They knew that one man's kindness had changed the course of history, that a single act of compassion could awaken a power greater than any weapon. And somewhere, among the endless stars, the faint whisper of the flame could still be heard, a voice that said softly, "Remember us. Remember that even the smallest light can burn through darkness." The galaxy had been reborn. The Council had fallen. And the silent mechanic from the edge of nowhere had truly changed the stars forever.